fans saw something they weren't supposed to. Because for all the times he followed the script, these 5 moments proved even WWE couldn't control the beast. And what makes this story so wild is that it starts with control and ends without it. WWE is a machine built on control. Every camera angle is planned. Every punch is fake. Every match has a script. The announcers know what to say. The wrestlers know where to go. Even the blood is sometimes fake. This is not a real sport. It is a show. And the people who run WWE want to keep it that way. They control everything so nothing goes wrong. They want safe fights. They want happy endings. They want everyone to follow the rules. The company has spent decades building a system where nothing is left to chance. They rehearse moves in the ring before shows. They plan out interviews word by word. They know exactly when to cut to commercial. They know when to zoom in on a face. They know when to play the music. Everything is timed. Everything is scripted. Everything is safe. But then came Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar was different. He didn't grow up dreaming about being a wrestler. He didn't love the costumes or the stories. He didn't watch wrestling as a kid and think, that's what I want to do. He saw WWE as a job, just a job, a way to make money. He was a real fighter first. He won college wrestling championships at the University of Minnesota. He was an NCAA Division I heavyweight champion. He fought in the UFC and became the UFC heavyweight champion. He knew how to hurt people for real. He had trained his whole life to break arms and choke people unconscious. And that made him dangerous, because when you put a real fighter in a fake fight, things can go very wrong. The other wrestlers are actors playing tough guys. Lesnar was a tough guy playing an actor, and he never really committed to the act. Let's start with the most recent moment. The moment that showed Lesnar didn't just break rules in the ring, he broke them backstage too. It was April 8, 2018, WrestleMania 34, the biggest show of the year. Over 70,000 people in the Superdome in New Orleans, millions watching at home. Lesnar was fighting Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship. WWE wanted Reigns to win. They had been building toward this moment for years. Reigns was supposed to be the next big star, the next John Cena, the next face of the company. They wanted him to beat Lesnar and become champion. They wanted the crowd to cheer. They wanted a happy ending, but the crowd didn't care. The show had been 7 hours long. People were exhausted. They had been sitting in their seats since the afternoon. By the time the main event started, it was almost midnight. People were tired. They were bored. They played with beach balls during the match. They chanted, boring. They chanted, this is awful. They didn't want to watch anymore. And Lesnar could tell. He could feel the energy in the building, or the lack of energy. He was out there putting his body on the line, and nobody cared. And that made him angry, very angry. When the match ended, Lesnar won. In a surprise finish, he kept his belt. He pinned Reigns and stayed champion. The crowd booed, not because they loved Reigns, but because they were tired of Lesnar too. They were tired of both guys. Lesnar grabbed his belt and walked to the back. He walked through the curtain and into the area called gorilla position. This is where Vince McMahon sits during shows. Vince is the boss. He's the chairman of WWE. He founded the company. He owns it. He makes all the decisions. And Lesnar walked right up to him, and he was angry, very angry. Then Lesnar did something no other wrestler would ever do. He ripped the championship belt off his waist. The Universal Championship is a big belt. It's made of leather and metal plates. It's heavy. It weighs about 10 pounds. And Lesnar grabbed it and threw it hard. He threw it across the room, right at Vince McMahon. The belt flew through the air like a frisbee. One of the straps almost hit a producer named Road Dogg in the face. Road Dogg said later that he was scared. He said the belt landed right in front of Vince. It hit the ground with a loud crash. The metal plates clanged. It was close, too close. Road Dogg said, it was safe, but one of those straps almost caught me right in the mug. Then things got worse. Shane McMahon was there. He's Vince's son. He's also a wrestler and a WWE executive. He saw Lesnar throw a belt at his dad, and Shane didn't care that Lesnar was a trained UFC fighter. He saw his father being disrespected, so Shane jumped up. He wanted to fight Lesnar. Road Dogg said Shane was hot and trying to go after Brock. He was ready to throw punches. He was ready to defend his dad's honor, but Road Dogg stopped him. He grabbed Shane and held him back. He said, hey, let's let it go. Let's just stay right here and all keep our teeth. Because everyone knew what would happen if Shane fought Lesnar. Lesnar is a trained UFC champion. He's fought the best fighters in the world. Shane would get destroyed. He would get hurt badly. So Road Dogg saved him. He stopped the fight before it started. And what did Vince do? Nothing. He didn't fire Lesnar. He didn't fine him. He didn't even yell at him. Lesnar just walked away. He left the building. And nothing happened to him. Because Lesnar was above the rules. He proved it that night. He threw a belt at the boss and got away with it. Any other wrestler would have been fired on the spot, but not Lesnar. Because WWE needed him. They needed his name. They needed his reputation. They needed the fact that he was a real fighter. So they let him do whatever he wanted. And Lesnar knew it. He knew he had all the power, and he used it. This wasn't the first time Lesnar showed he didn't care about authority. Just a few months before this, at the Royal Rumble in January 2018, something else happened. Lesnar was in a triple threat match with Braun Strowman and Kane. Strowman is huge. He weighs 385 pounds. He's one of the strongest men in WWE. During the fight, Strowman accidentally hit Lesnar in the head with his knee. It was a stiff shot, a hard one, harder than it was supposed to be, and Lesnar didn't like it. Right there in the ring, with cameras rolling, Lesnar dropped the act. He turned around and punched Strowman. A real punch. Full force, right in the temple. Strowman, who is one of the strongest men in WWE, got rocked. His head snapped to the side. He stumbled. The cameras picked up Lesnar saying, "Slow the F down." This was Lesnar giving Strowman a receipt. In wrestling, a receipt means you hit someone back for real, to teach them a lesson, to show them who's in charge, to let them know they messed up. And Lesnar did it on live pay-per-view TV, in front of everyone. And WWE did nothing about it, because they couldn't. Lesnar operated by his own rules. If you disrespected him, if you worked too stiff, if you endangered him, he would hurt you, for real. And nobody could stop him. Not the referees, not the producers, not even Vince McMahon himself. Now let's go back to 2015. This was a different kind of moment. This one happened on TV. It was July 20th, 2015, Monday Night Raw. The show was live from Dallas, Texas. Lesnar and The Undertaker were going to fight at a big show called SummerSlam. These two had history, real history. Back in 2010, at a UFC event, Lesnar had just lost his UFC title. As he walked backstage, The Undertaker was doing an interview. And Undertaker looked at Lesnar and said, "You want to do it?" It was a challenge, a real one. Right there at a UFC show, the two worlds collided, wrestling and real fighting, and it planted a seed for a future feud. By 2015, that feud was happening. Lesnar had broken The Undertaker's undefeated streak at WrestleMania. He had done the unthinkable. For 21 years, Undertaker had never lost at WrestleMania, and Lesnar ended it. So now they were going to fight again at SummerSlam. WWE wanted to make people excited, so they planned a huge brawl on Raw. They wanted it to look out of control. They wanted the whole locker room to run out and stop it, and that's what happened. But it went too far. The segment started normal enough. Lesnar came out, Undertaker came out. They started fighting, but then it escalated, fast. Lesnar and Undertaker were punching and throwing each other around. Then the security guards tried to stop them, but Lesnar was throwing them like toys. He grabbed one guard and tossed him aside like he weighed nothing. Then another, and another. Real wrestlers came out, lots of them. The whole locker room cleared out. Big guys, small guys, veterans, rookies, everyone. And they all tried to pull Lesnar and Undertaker apart, but Lesnar kept fighting. His face turned red, bright red, like a tomato. Veins were sticking out of his neck, thick veins, bulging veins. He was breathing hard, really hard. You could hear it. And then the microphones picked up something scary. People were yelling, "Don't touch me," and "Calm down, Brock." These weren't lines from a script. These were real people who were scared. Smaller wrestlers who didn't want to get caught in the middle, who didn't want to accidentally get hit, who didn't want to get hurt. Because when Lesnar is throwing people around, anyone can get hurt. Even people who aren't supposed to be part of the fight. Then Lesnar screamed something at Undertaker. He screamed, "I'm gonna kill you." And it didn't sound fake. It sounded real, too real. The way he said it, the tone in his voice, the look on his face. Some people watching at home thought maybe Lesnar forgot this was just a show. Maybe he got too angry. Maybe he tapped into real emotions. Maybe he lost control, for real. The whole thing was supposed to be fake, but it felt dangerous. Because Lesnar is dangerous. He's a real fighter. And when a real fighter gets mad, even if it's pretend, people get nervous. This moment showed something important. WWE wanted chaos. They wanted it to look wild. They wanted people at home to think, wow, this is out of control. But they were playing with fire. Because Lesnar isn't like other wrestlers. He can actually hurt people. And when you ask him to pretend to be out of control, sometimes he gets too close to really being out of control. The line gets blurred and people get scared. A year later, that line disappeared completely. At SummerSlam 2016, Lesnar fought Randy Orton. Orton is a veteran. He's been wrestling for almost 20 years. He knows how to work safe. He knows how to make things look real without actually hurting anyone. But during the match, Lesnar hit Orton for real. He used his elbows, hard elbows, stiff elbows. He cut Orton's head open. Real blood, lots of blood. The cut was so deep you could see Orton's skull, the white bone underneath the skin. It was gruesome. It was horrifying. And nobody knew if it was part of the plan or not. Backstage, another wrestler named Chris Jericho saw it on a monitor. He's a veteran too. He's been in WWE for decades. And he thought Lesnar had gone crazy. He thought Lesnar was attacking Orton for real. So Jericho ran to the back. He was ready to fight Lesnar. When Lesnar came through the curtain, Jericho got in his face, nose to nose. Jericho said later he was ready to bite Lesnar's nose off if he had to. He said, "You either go for it or you put your tail between your legs and hide, and I've never been that type of guy." That's how serious it was. Even the wrestlers couldn't tell when Lesnar was acting and when he wasn't. The line between the show and reality had disappeared, and that made everyone nervous. Because if Lesnar could do that to Randy Orton, a veteran wrestler, he could do it to anyone. Now let's go even further back to 2004. This is one of the strangest stories because this time, WWE didn't lose control of Lesnar, they lost control of the crowd. It was March 14, 2004, WrestleMania 20, Madison Square Garden in New York. The match was Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg. Both men were huge stars. Both men were strong. Both men were monsters. It should have been amazing. A dream match. Two powerhouses colliding. But it wasn't, because the fans knew a secret. They knew Lesnar was leaving WWE. They knew Goldberg was leaving too. The news had leaked on the internet days before. The dirt sheets had reported it. And the fans were angry. They felt betrayed. These two guys made millions of dollars. WWE had pushed them to the moon, had given them everything, and now they were just going to leave. Lesnar wanted to try the NFL. He wanted to play football for the Minnesota Vikings. Goldberg's contract was up, and he didn't want to renew. So both men were gone after this match, and the fans knew it. So they decided to ruin the match. They decided to hijack the show, and that's exactly what they did. From the second Lesnar and Goldberg walked out, the crowd booed, loud, deafening. They chanted, "You sold out." They chanted, "Nah, nah, nah, nah. Hey, 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 goodbye." They chanted, "This is boring." They didn't care about the fight. They just wanted to hurt Lesnar and Goldberg's feelings. They wanted to punish them, and it worked. Goldberg said later that some wrestlers were laughing backstage. They thought it was funny, but others were horrified. They couldn't believe the fans were destroying the match like this. It was the main event of WrestleMania, the biggest show of the year, and the crowd didn't care. Lesnar looked angry. You could see it on his face. He slowed down. He didn't want to work hard for people who hated him. He didn't want to put on a show for people who were booing him. The match became terrible, slow and awkward, long pauses between moves, both guys just staring at each other. Nobody cared. Bruce Pritchard, a WWE executive, said later that the match was stinking out the joint. It was embarrassing. The biggest show of the year, and the crowd had hijacked it. WWE had lost control, not of the wrestlers, but of the audience. And that might be even worse. Then it ended. Finally, after 15 long, painful minutes, Goldberg won with a jackhammer, but the fans still booed. They booed both guys. So Stone Cold Steve Austin, the special guest referee, did something to make the fans happy. He gave both men his finishing move, the Stone Cold Stunner. First, he stunned Goldberg. The crowd cheered. Then he stunned Lesnar. The crowd cheered louder. But before that happened, Lesnar did something shocking. He looked at the crowd, and he gave them the middle finger. Both hands. 2 middle fingers right at 18,000 fans. Right at the people who paid to be there. This wasn't in the script. This was real anger. Lesnar was so mad that he broke character. He let everyone see how he really felt. He was done pretending to care. He was done pretending to respect the fans. And then he left. He walked out of WWE that night, and he stayed gone for 8 years. Backstage, Vince McMahon was furious. He was livid. He confronted Lesnar in the staging area called Gorilla Position. This is the spot right behind the curtain where Vince sits with his headset during shows. But Vince didn't yell. He didn't fight, because Lesnar looked like an angry Viking. Jim Ross, a WWE announcer, said Lesnar looked like a heifer bull, a huge, angry, dangerous animal. He was huge and mad and ready to hurt someone. His face was red. His fists were clenched. His jaw was tight. So Vince just shook his hand. He let Lesnar leave, because what else could he do? Fire him? Lesnar was already quitting. Fight him? Lesnar would destroy him. So Vince lost. WWE lost. The crowd had hijacked the show, and Lesnar had given up on trying. It was a total disaster. Nobody was in control. Not the company, not the wrestlers, nobody. This moment proved that even WWE, with all its money and power and control, couldn't stop real human emotion. They couldn't force the crowd to cheer. They couldn't force Lesnar to care. And when both of those things fell apart, so did the show. It was the fourth wall being broken in the worst possible way. The illusion was shattered. Everyone could see that this was just a business, just a job, and the magic was gone. It took 8 years for WWE to recover and bring Lesnar back. And when he came back in 2012, he was even bigger, even more dangerous, because he had proven he didn't need WWE. WWE needed him. Now let's talk about something different. Let's talk about the one time WWE actually wanted to lose control. But they didn't really lose it. They just made it look that way. It was June 12th, 2003, a show called SmackDown. It was taped in North Charleston, South Carolina. Lesnar was fighting the Big Show. Big Show is enormous. He's 7 feet tall. He weighs 500 pounds. Lesnar weighs almost 300. Together, they weighed almost 800 pounds. The two of them were in a match, and near the end, they climbed to the top rope. Lesnar was going to suplex Big Show off the top turnbuckle, a superplex, a dangerous move where both guys fall from the top rope to the mat below. And then something crazy happened. The ring exploded. The post broke. The ropes went slack. The whole ring collapsed. The mat caved in. It looked like the ring couldn't hold their weight. It looked like the combined force of 800 pounds crashing down at once was too much. It looked like a real accident, a freak accident, and the crowd gasped. They screamed. They couldn't believe what they just saw. The announcers, Taz and Michael Cole, went silent, just stunned silence, like they didn't know what to say. The referee, Mike Chioda, sold it perfectly. He fell down when the ring collapsed. He looked shocked, confused, scared, and for over 10 years, WWE said it was real. Big Show told people it was real. He did interviews and said, "Yeah, we broke the ring." Lesnar acted like it was real. The referee acted like it was real. Everyone lied. They lied in interviews. They lied on TV. They lied in documentaries. They wanted fans to think Lesnar was so strong and so dangerous that he broke the ring, that his power was too much for WWE's equipment to handle. But it was fake. All of it, completely fake. In 2015, Big Show finally admitted the truth. He said, "On hundreds of interviews, I have lied right through my teeth and said it's a shoot. A shoot means something real, something that wasn't planned. But this wasn't a shoot. It was a work. It was planned." He said, "If you get a chance to suspend people's reality just for an instant, it's good for them. They rigged the ring. They cut the posts ahead of time. They weakened the structure. They used airbags under the ring to create the collapse effect. A stunt coordinator named Ellis set the whole thing up. He knew exactly how to make it look real. The referee knew. The wrestlers knew. The producers knew. Only the fans didn't know. This was manufactured chaos. WWE wanted people to believe Lesnar couldn't be contained. They wanted people to think he was a monster who could break anything, who could destroy anything, so they made it happen. They controlled every part of it, but they made it look uncontrollable. And it worked. People still talk about the ring collapse today. They show the video over and over. It's one of the most famous moments in WWE history, and it was completely fake. But that's the point. WWE knows how to make fake things look real. That's their whole business. They sell illusions. They sell stories. they sell moments. And this was a perfect moment. This moment showed that when WWE wants to lose control, they can do it perfectly. They can script chaos. They can engineer disaster. They can make danger look real. And Lesnar was the perfect guy to sell it because he already looked dangerous. He already felt dangerous. He was a 295-pound monster with freakish strength and a mean streak. So when the ring collapsed, fans believed it was because of him. They believed his power was too much for WWE to handle, and that made him even more valuable. It added to his legend. It made him seem superhuman, and WWE didn't have to risk anyone getting actually hurt. They got all the benefit with none of the risk. But sometimes danger isn't an act. Sometimes it's real. And that brings us to the scariest moment in this whole story. It was March 30th, 2003, WrestleMania 19, Safeco Field in Seattle, Washington. The main event, Brock Lesnar versus Kurt Angle for the WWE Championship. This match should never have happened because Kurt Angle had a broken neck. For real, not storyline broken, actually broken. Doctors told him to get surgery immediately. They told him not to wrestle. They told him he could be paralyzed. He could die, but Angle refused. He's old school. He believes in tradition. He wanted to lose the title in the ring. He wanted to do it the right way. He wanted to pass the torch properly, so he wrestled anyway with a broken neck. And that put all the pressure on Lesnar. Lesnar had to protect Angle. He had to carry the match. He had to make sure nothing went wrong, because if Angle took one bad bump, if he landed wrong, if his neck got hit the wrong way, he could be paralyzed. He could die right there in the ring on live pay-per-view in front of 54,000 people. Lesnar was only 25 years old. He had less than 2 years of experience on TV, and he was responsible for protecting a man with a broken neck in the main event of WrestleMania. The pressure was immense. The match went okay at first. They wrestled for about 20 minutes. They did holds. They did suplexes. They told a story. But then Lesnar decided to do something risky, something stupid. He climbed to the top rope. He was going to do a backflip called a shooting star press. This move is hard, really hard. It requires perfect timing, perfect rotation, perfect landing. Most wrestlers who do it are small. They weigh 200 pounds or less. Guys like Billy Kidman, cruiserweights. Lesnar weighed 295 pounds, but he had done the move before. In developmental territory, in Ohio Valley Wrestling, in training, when he was fresh, when he wasn't tired. And it was Kurt Angle's idea to do it at WrestleMania. Angle thought it would be amazing. He thought it would be the moment everyone remembered, the moment that defined Lesnar's career. And he was right, but not in a good way. Lesnar climbed to the top turnbuckle. The crowd was buzzing. They didn't know what was coming. Angle was lying in the ring, waiting, and then Lesnar jumped, and everything went wrong. He was too tired. The match had gone almost 20 minutes. His fast-twitch muscle fibers were exhausted. His legs were heavy. The ropes were slick with sweat and moisture. The stadium was open air. There was dew from the Seattle weather. And Angle was positioned slightly too far away. Lesnar needed more distance than he thought. So when Lesnar launched himself, he didn't get enough rotation. He under-rotated. He stalled in midair. His body stopped flipping. And instead of landing chest to chest on Angle, he just fell straight down. And he landed on his head, his forehead, the top of his skull. All 295 pounds came crashing down on his head and neck. His neck compressed like an accordion. His spine folded. The impact was massive. The sound was terrible, a sickening thud. The crowd gasped, then went silent, dead silent. Nobody knew what to do. Nobody knew what just happened. Kurt Angle was lying there with a broken neck, watching Lesnar land on his head. And Angle thought, oh my God, he just broke his neck too. For 15 seconds, WWE had no control. The match was supposed to end with Lesnar hitting the move and winning. A beautiful finish, a perfect moment. But Lesnar was knocked out. He had a massive concussion. His brain was scrambled. He couldn't think straight. He couldn't move right. The plan was gone. The script was useless. And nobody knew what to do. Angle started panicking. He said later it was one of the most stressful moments of his life. He was lying there thinking, I can't hold the title one more day. My neck is broken. I physically cannot wrestle again. But Brock might have broken his neck too. What do we do? The referee, Mike Sparks, was freaking out. He was looking at both guys, trying to figure out what to do, trying to communicate with the back, trying to fix the situation, but there was no good answer. So Angle took charge. Despite his own broken neck, despite his own pain, Angle directed the finish. He told the referee what to do. He crawled over to Lesnar. He covered him for a pin. And then he whispered to Lesnar, "Kick out. Please kick out. You have to kick out." He was begging, praying, because if Lesnar didn't kick out, Angle would still be champion. And Angle physically could not be champion anymore. His body was done. One more match could kill him. One more bump could paralyze him. The title had to change hands. It had to. Somehow, Lesnar kicked out. He was on what Angle called loopy street. He was dizzy, disoriented, confused, concussed, moving on pure instinct, pure muscle memory, but he kicked out. And then he got up, slowly, stumbling, wobbling. He could barely stand. And then somehow, he hit his finishing move, the F5. He lifted Angle onto his shoulders, spun him around, and dropped him, face first into the mat, and pinned him. 1, 2, 3. New champion. Lesnar won. The crowd cheered, but Lesnar barely knew where he was. He had just survived a near-death experience on live TV, and he still finished the match. Because that's what WWE demanded. The show must go on, even if someone almost dies. Angle said later, "I was in a position where Brock might have broken his neck. He got knocked out. I didn't know what to do because I couldn't hold the title another day." He also said, "I had to basically wake him up and get him moving. It was very stressful. That 15 seconds was some of the most stressful situations I've ever been in. Both men were working hurt. Both men were one bad move away from being paralyzed. And they finished the match anyway." This moment changed everything. WWE realized they couldn't let big guys do moves like that anymore. It was too risky, too dangerous. Lesnar could have been paralyzed. He could have died, and it would have been on live TV in front of millions of people around the world. So after that night, WWE effectively banned the shooting star press for heavyweights. They changed how they trained people. They became more careful about what moves they allowed. They focused on safety over spectacle, at least for a while. But the weird thing is, this moment made Lesnar more famous. People saw him almost die, and they saw him get up and finish anyway. It made him look unstoppable. It made him look like a real monster, like nothing could hurt him, like he was superhuman. Kurt Angle said, "The cool thing about it is that's what people remember most about WrestleMania 19. It was a great moment for him." So even though WWE lost control of the match, they gained something too. They gained a legend, a story people would never forget. They gained proof that Lesnar was tougher than anyone else. Because who else could land on their head, get knocked out, and still win the championship? Nobody. Only Lesnar. So what does all this mean? It means Brock Lesnar was never just a wrestler. He was a problem WWE couldn't fix. From reckless stunts to real violence, he broke every rule. He threw a belt at his boss and walked away. He flipped off 18,000 fans at Madison Square Garden and quit the company. He almost died doing a stupid move and still finished the match. He made other wrestlers scared during a fake brawl because they couldn't tell if he was acting or not. He punched people for real when they made him mad. And most wrestlers would get fired for any one of these things. But not Lesnar. He kept coming back. He kept getting paid more. He kept doing whatever he wanted because WWE needed him more than he needed WWE. He was a real fighter in a world of fake fights. And that made him special. That made him valuable. That made him worth millions of dollars. Even when he was dangerous, even when he was out of control, even when he scared the other wrestlers, even when he disrespected the boss. Other wrestlers dream about being in WWE. They love the show. They love the fans. They love the travel and the lights and the music. They follow the rules because they're grateful to be there. But Lesnar never acted grateful. He never pretended to love it. He acted like WWE was lucky to have him. And maybe they were, because he brought something nobody else could bring. He brought the fear that something real might happen, that he might actually hurt someone, that the script might fall apart at any second, that chaos might break through. And in a business built on fake fights and scripted drama, that fear is worth millions of dollars. That unpredictability is the rarest thing WWE can sell, because everything else is controlled, everything else is planned, everything else is safe. But with Lesnar, you never knew. You never knew if he might snap, if he might go too far, if the real fighter inside him might come out. And that made every Lesnar match feel dangerous. It made every Lesnar segment feel important. It made people pay attention, because they knew that with Brock Lesnar, anything could happen. And sometimes it did. That's what made him so dangerous. And that's why WWE never truly tamed the beast.